Oh, yes. Well, let me say a pleasant good evening and a warm welcome to your Freedom State and Religion, right here on Kings 88.5. Our State and Religion is on this radio every Sunday at 5. We talk about the state and religion on all sides. And today promised to be a very, very spectacular, wonderful occasion. Well, today is the 12th day of January 2025. This is what we are seeing. Let's take a just about theme song and be back right here on the floor. So let's say a pleasant evening and a warm welcome to the program State and Religion right here on Kings 88.5. What a pleasant Sunday evening from the nation's capital, Monrovia. And let me say good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I don't know the time zone that in your locale, but here with me is after 5, and it's a great pleasure I quickly try to share the link with my guests, get them on the show. I don't know what's happening, but we will try to do all we can to come up join us in the discussion this evening. Is indeed a wonderful and splendid discussion. I'm going to have a guest from the Federal Republic of Nigeria, from the United States, then from South Africa. And, we're going to have a very, very wonderful time to talk, yes, about state and religion. We have a defined discussion, this evening, and that is centered around uh, is the church powerful than the government of the nation? That's what we're going to look at. If the church is powerful than the government of any nation, why the church speaks, and then the government don't listen, the president don't listen, and we want to look at it from different perspectives, from that of Nigeria. How is the church responding when the church speaks on national issues? How is the response from the federal government? We want to see it from the level of the United States. We want to see it from the level of South Africa. And I think this chapter will get to all of that which the guy just needed to get it running. But I'm trying to see if we can get them on the show, on the platform this evening. Is there are different time zones and different ways, so we try to work it out to get them to be part of the program. Let me take the top of the theme song quickly. All right. So let me see a pleasant welcome back. And I see my own papa. Oh, and I see my own papa. He's pretty. He's pretty. He's pretty. Uh,
I'm
set up.
yeah.
He's pretty set up. Let me see what I'm not getting. All right. So uh, something is playing here. Something is playing. I should be playing. Where is it? Where is it coming from? Find it. I gotta find it. Coming. Okay. Something is playing here. It's hiding from me. It's playing. And where it's coming from, I'm coming here, but let me see. Something is coming. I don't know where it's coming from. But the thing is upside down. Yes. Maybe discover it. And okay, I think I'll find it. Yes. All right. So I'm hoping to get Dr. Rahim from the United States. I already get on the line, my ever ready father in the Lord, Bishop Oliver Togba. He's there. He's the general overseer and the resident pastor of the oil ministry there in South Africa. He's a Liberian, so that you know that. But he's an ever ready Liberian pastor. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you so much.
Okay,
And
I asked my mommy, the pre-birthday mommy.
oh, I just took her home. She's doing fine. She's doing
Okay.
fine. Mm,
Well, okay,
yeah.
so I'm trying to see if we can get um, Dr. Rahim. I don't know what is giving him challenge, but I think I need to check my mail. We'll also get Pastor Abdul Johnson of Winners Chapel there from the Federal Republic of Nigeria at 6, because they're breaking the fast at 6. So we hope to get him there. But Bishop Oliver Togba is here. It's a very interesting and fascinating discussion this evening.
Mm.
Very, very interesting. He said, "Look, son, I can't wait. I can't wait for that." The men like Rob Disney, the men church business, you can't play the message. I can't wait.
I
I
tell
want
you.
to. But it's a very interesting discussion. Is the church powerful than the government of a nation? That's what we want to see. Whether the church is powerful than any seated government, or the government is powerful than the church. And if the church is powerful than the seated government, why the church is not taking her rightful place? Why the influence? Why all these the church has been turned into a political box, and our clergies and our prelates are not protecting the interest of the church rather than protecting their personal interest. And so those are some of the issues we want to look at holistically. Then we look at from the side of men of God. You say, I want to get the men of God there to look at the setting there from South Africa relative to the
Yeah.
church and the government. How are they working? We're going to look at that from South Africa. We're going to look at that from the USA. We're going to look at that from the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so that we compare it to Liberia and able to, derive as something very important to make us understand if the church is powerful than a government of any nation, or if the government is powerful than the church. We want to look at. So let's say welcome again, Bishop Oliver, and welcome to the program State and Religion, right here on King's 88.5.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank to all Liberians that are listening around the world. King's FM have been a great blessing to Liberians by informing them and giving them the right path to walk on. I believe so. And thank you so much, Israel Boy, you also for your great contribution to the nation of Liberia, because with all the things you people are doing there, it giving Liberia a face outside from the positive point of view. Liberia needs to come outside more so people can be encouraged and see what Liberia is up to. some of the information that you're giving makes some Liberians to go home, makes some Liberians to decide in exile to be serious or not to be serious, because those information are in twofold. Either Liberians who are outside are serious, or they are not serious based on the information you give to us when we hear you people on the radio explaining about nations. So we have to play maximum impact for those of us that are outside, that are working very hard to see to it that we can give our country a face, where we come from is very important. That's very important. So when this kind of show comes up, we choose to give our impact, and make our impact to be felt in our nation and around the world for people who are listening in the diaspora and Liberia. So I'm very grateful for this kind of platform and this kind of show on religion. If the church is more powerful than the government, or the government is more powerful than the church, these are things I give God praise for your ideas and for your time, so we can be able to dissect it, and we can be able to talk it piece by piece, so people can understand where the church is and where the government is, and how our country can stand up and know that this is this is the right path we are walking on. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm
Okay.
so very happy.
All right.
For
So
some, yeah.
let me Pastor Johnson Abu is trying to get me linked from Nigeria. Okay. So what we're waiting on, and man of God, let's go into this whole thing. The question
Mm,
here is that we all asking, wanting to have some answers to it.
mm.
Is the church powerful than the government of a nation, or the government of a nation is powerful than the church of God?
That question is very, 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 very much easier. Very, very easy to answer. Is There's no two ways about it. The church is powerful than the government.
Mhm.
The church, yeah, the church is powerful than the government, because the first institution is God, and God is the church, and He created everybody. He instituted government. So the first institution is the church. Is the church. So every king that was put into office in the days of old was sent by the prophet. The prophet installed them into office. So biblically, the church is very important than the government. The church plays a very important role, and the church is important than the government.
If
But
the church is important than the government,
mm,
why the church is not considered a voice? Why the church is
yeah,
not?
the church is not considered as a voice because there are fundamental things we have to look at when you look at uh, the church. Like I said before, and I want to be on record for that. Like I said before, when God created everything, he started with government. Adam, he started with government. He started with his kingdom. Let me use the word kingdom. He started with his kingdom. So the kingdom was God. There was no sin at that time. God started with his government. He started with his kingdom. So when God started with his kingdom, the first man he created was Adam. He created Adam. So he placed Adam to govern. That word govern. He placed Adam to govern. So Adam began to govern, and then sin came into place. Then Adam lost the rightful place, and then sin begins to manifest. When sin began to manifest, then the second Adam came to restore us unto God. There was where the government, the church lost the value, because once the church was placed outside of the place of God, and the church needed to reconcile back to God, the church lost that place of relationship with God. The government was lost at that time when God drove Adam from the garden. So the first government that God instituted, God created everybody in his image. So in that image, he formed government to constitute the earth. That's why when you check the Bible says God cannot interfere in the affairs of man. When God created Adam, he gave Adam the dominion. So he never interfered in the affairs of man. So God began to look at man to operate as he gave man power. Once God gave you power, he gave you the ability to choose and to operate with the power he has given to you. But religion have seen it when God was setting up kings in the from the olden days, from the Old Testament. You see, the people will choose their own king. And when God gave them king, they will choose their own king. When God gave them leader, they will choose their own leader in the place of Saul. So it started from there because of wickedness. That wickedness make the church have to be silent. The church gets silent because of the too much wickedness that perpetrated in the body of the planet we are living in because of wickedness. So the church begin to focus on spirituality instead of focusing on governmental issues of a nation. So many of us today we focusing on our church, my denomination. So we left the arena of God, which is the first government, to rule and to control. Because God, I give you dominion, I give you power to control every creeping thing that creeps upon the face of the earth. God did not give that power to unbeliever. He gave it to the children of God who he has created. And everybody who God created, they are children of God, except you decided to leave the place of God and to enter into the place of wickedness. So that is the form there. Then that's the form there. Once you outside of the premises of God, then you are totally outside of his kingdom and you are outside of his government. So that is where the church lost that virtue. But now the church is coming back to take their rightful place, but then the church is being blocked because of quote unquote uh, wickedness, because lies are more effective than truth. So that's where the church is. So the church is battling to go back to take their position, but the church can't find themselves into that particular place anymore because wickedness have increased in the domains of man. Yeah.
So now nowadays, politics is is the order of the day, and
Mm,
like from the setting of Liberia,
mm,
during the Civil War, church leaders were involved with political leaders, politicians going to Bamako, going to Yamoussoukro, going to Lomé, and the church leaders were playing a pivotal role to bring in peace to Liberia. So
mm,
if the church will play a role of mediation between political sides,
mm.
factions, and war laws and what have you, why when the church speak, government, seated government think that the church is less important and their voice, it's not the voice of God or the voice of the people, and they downplay, the voice or the appeal or the advice of the caution of the church.
That's what I said before earlier. I said when the church sold their birthright, the church sold their birthright, then wickedness enter into the war. When wickedness enter into the war for the church, that's what the Bible says. When the righteous rule, there is peace. But when the wicked rule, then the righteous suffer. So the righteous wants to take back his position to be able to govern. But the wicked is not permitting the righteous to take back. So it is prayer. Number two, the Christianity we govern ourselves into today is from our heart. Once the heart is outside of the will of God, the flesh is just functioning. And that's why you see in Liberian setting, because Liberia was called a Christian nation, and it is called a Christian nation, and it was called Christopolis before time.
Mhm.
And then Liberians, do you know when you check, history, Liberia was one of the country that give most of this country today spirituality, like Ghana, then Nigeria, then today Nigeria have beat the record of Liberia. Because I went to Papa Idahosa school.
Mhm.
I went there. Liberians, when it comes to the potential of Christianity, those days, it was very vector than these days. So now, because we have the woman of God, the prophetess who gave Samuel the prophecy, and then after she was killed. Now we have prophet in the land. We have people that was the voice of God, that was speaking the mind of God, because they laid down their life. In every nation, you will have two, three that will lay down their life for God. But in our nation today, because the wickedness have increased, even among Christians, we cannot find the genuine from the fake. So when you speak as a genuine child of God, they'll say, "Oh, that all the pastors and they are 419 pastors, all the pastors are thief in Liberia." Because what happened is that the wickedness is advancing more than the spirituality. And we thinking that spirituality is just based on rabababa speaking in tongue. No. When we talk about spirituality, it based on the power of information. Once you are short-sighted with information, your contribution to the system is poor. And when your contribution to the system is poor, you are devalued. The Bible says the wisdom of the poor man is dispersed. So once your spiritual life is not affecting your community or your society physically and spiritually, that means you are short-sighted.
Let me hold you there. Let me welcome my father. So this is Adu. He was once the national pastor of Winners in Liberia, and the many churches. He had a prophecy where it would be in the Father, my father, good evening from Morovia. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. Yes, I don't want to carry that.
He said, Pastor Adu, good evening.
How are you, Israel? The Lord bless you.
I know you. I know you from the church, from the breaking of the fast for today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's good to have you on the show. We have Bishop Oliver Toba from South Africa, and you there from Nigeria. We're hoping to get Dr. Rahim from the United States, and we're looking at the discussion: is the church when it comes to the governance of the state or the country, the questions that we're asking, that we share with you, that we should discuss on the show this wonderful, blessed Sunday evening: is the church powerful than a nation, or and then the government on the nation, or the government is powerful than the church? Let me hold Bishop Toba, then ask you, is the church powerful than a government in a nation?
Are you talking historically or as it is now?
I'm talking at it is now. Whether the church
As,
have voice, and then we look at from
as
the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
yeah, Israel as it is now, the church seems to be powerless when it comes to governance of nations.
Hmm.
And looking at Nigeria, where I am right now, the government does not listen to the church.
Hmm.
But biblically, it's not supposed to be so.
Exactly.
because it was the priests or the prophets that were the conscience of the society. They were the one that would console the king when he erred. But the opposite is the case of what we have at present. So I can tell you for free, in Nigeria, the government is not listening to the church. As a matter of fact, any servant of God that overstep his bound, trying to put his mouth in the affairs of the nation, they end up being haunted by the people in government. They become endangered species trying to tell truth to government. That is the situation.
But it's the very same church that government run to. At the end of the day, they will go to the church and ask the church to pray for the nation. Why they don't listen to the very church they run to?
It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. Politicians are foxes. Politicians are not statesmen. Statesmen think about the future of the nation. Politicians thinks about their next election. While they are elected in government, they are scheming how to come back second term. So they are not there for good governance. They are there to help themselves to as much as they can. So as it is, when they come to the church for prayer, they are not sincere about it. It's all hypocrisy.
But Nigeria, the federal Nigeria is a very big nation, a very great nation on the continent of Africa, West Africa. And with all of the great men of God, all of the many churches in Nigeria, people believe that when the church speak in Nigeria, the government come to a standstill. And when you say it's hypocrisy, the church is not listening, the government is not listening.
Okay, Israel, let me refer you to the days of King Ahab. King Ahab was a very, very dangerous king that has a woman called Jezebel that was backing him up. There was no king that commit atrocity like Ahab. In his day, we had the most fearless prophet called Elijah. Are you following me?
Yeah.
But the time came in 1 King chapter 19 that even Elijah ran for his life. Because after the exploit in 1 King chapter 18 on Mount Carmel, Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah that if his head remain on his neck by this time tomorrow, she's no longer Jezebel. So the man of God took to his heels. So when church is speaking to people in government who have make a pact, alliance with the devil, and the leaders of the church see they are wasting time, they face their assignment and let the politicians do what they want to do. Because they are not military that have gun. What they have is the word of God. If they are speaking to the conscience of the people in government and they will not listen, they forget about them. Let's take, for example, Bishop David Odekwa, our father. Right from the time of Buhari, the government before the present government, he was talking to the point that they were planning to assassinate him. And so the politicians, if they are not godly, they will never listen to godly counsel.
Let me hold you there, Pastor Johnson. Bishop, talk about you listen to Pastor Aldo from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He said it. Nigeria is a very big nation.
Yeah, I just said the same thing he said from the beginning. From the beginning, I said that before the church was relevant, the church was the custodian of the government. The church was bringing kings into powers. And the kings used to listen to the prophet. But like he said, as it stands now, wicked people can never listen to the truth easily. Once there is a wicked heart, the gospel is less up in that man's heart. The gospel. And like the man of God said, when the gospel is less in your heart, to accept anything that is coming from the mouth of God, it is not going to be acceptable easily. No. So there where you see now the church is struggling to gain his stand because wickedness have overtaken. So for the church to break forth, because if one man is talking, let me say this, if one truth man is talking, instead of us using force to back that one man because he said it and we all sense it, we rather move from behind that one man and and allow him to fall so that we can now say that what he said was not truth. So the church have not come to that place yet, like the days of old, that the church was having one voice. The church was moving on a speed. I listened to Bishop Oyedepo one time. He said something that shocked me. He said one of his members was sick, and the member in her dream saw that Pastor Komoyi was praying for her. So Bishop Oyedepo said he wrote a letter to ask Komoyi to pray for his member because the member dreamed and saw that. And he sent the person there. But in our days now, in our days now, like my brother is saying now, I may not have the kind of gift he may be having. I may have a gift of deliverance, a gift of healing. He may be having a gift of wisdom or something else. Now, instead of all blending together as a church to enforce the mandate that was given to us, we are fighting each other who to be relevant in the society as it is stand now. So the church is not really gaining its place now, like you said, now as it stand, because when one person talk another thing, we get too many voices now, and we are not networking. The church is not networking. So the evil is manipulating the force, the system of the church, more than the church of fixing the issue, of confronting the issue of our nations. So you see where we stand. So the church is not giving it relevant now because of the society we live in right now. The hatred, the 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 wickedness is on the rampage. So when the church speak, it's like water. This man will say, okay, this is my own, this is my own counselor, I'm praying for this one. And this one will say that my own president, I'm praying for this one. So when the other ones see a prophecy concerning this president, say, no, that fake, don't mind that, because of his interest. So the church is have not come to that place yet to gain relevance in the place of speaking the mind of God. That's why nations are suffering. That's why the nations are suffering today.
Before I come to Pastor Adu, let me ask you, in South Africa, let's look at the church in South Africa and the government. Do the government that listen to the church of South Africa?
Oh, well, I may not say 100% because we got pastoral councils here, but one of the things I thank God for in South Africa and in my city, particular George, we have a pastor. We have pastor in parliament. You understand? And they've gone 4-5 years that passed. We have the chief justice of the country, Makwe. He was a pastor in South Africa. He was a pastor, the chief justice. So he was a pastor. So he was speaking to the mind of South African and bringing God in parliament. I remember one time when he called when we were in parliament calling for session, he spoke in tongues. He said anybody who can pray, and he spoke in tongues, they play caught fire in parliament, the chief justice here. So when it comes to the Christianity in South Africa, we are networking, and what we intend to do now, we intend to carry most of our fathers in South Africa into government. Most of them into government. Like my city judge now, we carry my spiritual father who's
Oh, the signal from Bishop Toba dropped. While he's coming on, trying to get reconnected. You were listening to the program State and Religion, and right here on King's 88.5, we have two of our guests. We await Bishop Rahim from the United States, but we already have Pastor Johnson Adu. He's one of our pastors there in Nigeria. Pastor, for the clarity of our people in Liberia, for me, I know you, my father. The others,
Yeah,
specifically, states in Nigeria, you are in the church.
yeah. Right now, just the last time we spoke, I was up north, but in September, during the summer, last year, I was moved to Warri in the south of Nigeria, south. So I'm back to Warri in Delta State.
Wow. Okay, so let's look at Liberia. You've been in Liberia. You've been in Liberia for a while. You planted churches. You was part of the Christian task force.
Yes.
You were involved with the church in Liberia actively. If you were to look at the church and the government in Liberia, what do you say?
It's the same picture. Israel, the same picture. The church in Liberia, the church in Nigeria, the church in South Africa, the church in almost every nation of the world right now doesn't have a voice. And like my brother from South Africa was saying, the reason being that the church itself is not united. It's not united. Now, due to Ebola in Liberia, you know that the Pentecostal churches were the ones carrying the Christian task force on their head. The mainstream Orthodox churches didn't want to be part of it. That is the division of it. And the Bible said a house that divided itself cannot stand. So the pain of the church is the disunity of the church. Is the disunity of the church. If the church can see Christ as their head and collapse denominations and line behind Christ as the head of the church, they will speak with one voice. But the church is not united, and when a house is not united, the house will fall. So the bane of the church is the disunity.
So in a nutshell, you said the same thing. What is happening in Liberia is not different from Nigeria. But what can the church do to bring some solution to this kind of problem? What can they? Because people depend on the church. What can the church do to bring some relief to this issue of the government not listening to the church?
Well, the church have to come to the point of unity. The church must come to the point of unity. For example, I know Liberia that we have the Council of Churches and all that. But if you remember, those 3 years that we were battling Ebola, it's only the Pentecostal who were the one who were in the forefront, who were in the radio houses, the video houses, who were in the peace plan, who were in the what's that island? The island where the Providence Island. We were there on the Providence Island praying and fasting for the nation. Yet Liberia is supposed to be a Christian nation because close to 90% profess Christianity. But when it comes to active participants, the few that are lifting the nation up and nothing to be compared to the multitude that profess Christianity. So the leadership of the church have to wake up to their assignment, which is to unite the people. It fall on the leadership. Remember when the Ebola broke out and we formed the National Christian Task Force, Bishop Wolobele was the champ, and then we all rallied and we collapse our denominations. We form a task force in order to drive the nation as one body. And God had our cry and we succeeded. That is how the church should tackle each issue that come their way, forgetting about denomination, but uniting for the sake of the nation to advance.
So similar thing like you talking about. This unity is also because you see when I'm talking about Nigeria is a very big nation, and too many things happen there from the cycle of Christendom, and people think Nigeria is on path when it comes to Christianity and the Word of God. If similar thing happening in Nigeria, Liberia is happening in Nigeria, then someone might say then we are in trouble.
Yeah, because the Nigeria city and Liberia city are different.
Okay.
Nigeria, we have 50% Christian, 50 Muslims.
Okay.
So that is the beginning of Nigeria problem. Right now, in government, the president and the vice president, both of them are Muslims.
Presently?
Yes. So the president and the vice president, the nation, they are Muslims. And then close to 75% of members of parliament are Muslims.
Wow.
Yeah. So Nigeria case is a peculiar one. Unlike Liberia. Mighty men that we have in Christendom in Nigeria, they cannot have their voice heard because of the stronghold of Islam that is very strong in Nigeria.
But if it is 50-50, like you said, in Nigeria, and the church is not united, then the Muslims' faith, Islamic faith, might dominate the Christian faith.
Pushing a lot of it through from back the door, they have been pushing legislation and other things because in the parliament, they are more than Christians.
So it means that the Christian faith, they're not supportive of each other to have more Christians in the parliament, more Christians everywhere.
Demography, Israel, the demography, it was tended to favor the Muslims. For example, Nigeria have 36 states plus federal capital Abuja, making 37. Now, each of those states are to produce 3 senators. The Muslims have 4 states. Because of the history of the nation, we're having military, and most of those military head of state were all from the north. So when they were creating states, they were creating states to multiply states from the north. So at present, they not have more representatives in the National Assembly. So it is a scheme that has been on for years.
Wow. I'm just hearing from you that it's 50-50. It's today I'm hearing it that it's 50-50. Even people in like other parts of the world think that the Christians are dominating in Nigeria with all of the great men of God, all of the great churches, the yeah, that's what many persons thought.
We have great churches, we have great men of God here in Nigeria, but when it comes to the population, divided religion 50-50. In fact, the Muslims are saying they are 60 and that the Christians are 40. That is why from behind the door, far back, Nigeria was opted into the OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries. So as it were, Nigeria is a member of the organization.
So let me also ask you, like from Liberia, you have most of our people saying men of God should not venture into the body politics. Uh, you hear others say, yes, it's good for the church to involve into politics, into parliament. Like you say, it's 50-50 in Nigeria. The Islamic faith, the Christianity is 50-50. If I were to ask you, it's good for the Christians to get involved into politics, on all sides, from the legislature to the executive and the judiciary?
Yes, because the Bible said, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn. If we are going to live by the legislature that is passed on by unbelievers, then it is better we be where the laws are being made, where the laws will be implemented. Daniel, they were all states who took their assignment with the fear of God and they succeeded. They were in government. So I don't see anything wrong. If Christians will not be part of those who make the law and they will be forced to obey the law, if the law is not the favor of the church will suffer the repercussions.
So you support Christians vying for representative office, senatorial office, the presidency. You support that?
Of course. If the righteous people start government today, especially like a government that is a small issue, if from the head to the administration to all the heads, if they are Christian today, the fortune of Liberia, because you will have righteous people who fear God in authority.
Someone say you encouraging the church people to, but in Liberia, the person when pastors should focus on the church, they should forget politics. In Liberia, they say you focus on the church.
We have many gates. You have economic gates, you have politics gates, you have education gates, you have media gates, like that. So the politics gate, we are not saying the pastors or bishops to leave their church to go and become members of parliament, but they have believers who they have nurtured who are called to politics by calling their politicians. Joseph by calling was a statesman. Daniel by calling was a statesman. And so we have them in the church. The church should encourage such people who have a calling to take position in the government so as to run the nation godly way that will turn the photo around.
So what you saying in a nutshell is it don't have to be the pastor. The pastor
No.
can encourage a member of his or her congregation to
Yes.
to go for an elected office.
Yes.
But
Yes.
in Liberia different. The bishop ain't can run. Pastor run you, apostle run you.
No. You hear Bishop David said he would consider it a demotion the day they will ask him to be president of Nigeria. He will consider a demotion. So you can't be called of God to carry out his mission and then you overnight capitulate to become a politician. There are those who are called into politics by calling their politicians. So those are the people that should be encouraged to run, not those who already run the church to now leave the church to go and contest election. No. For example, during this last year, you see that the Delta where I am now, you saw that the governor was in Shiloh throughout with his wife. Is the governor of Delta State, and the winner is an leader in the church. But it's not a pastor.
So you think yes, pastor should not venture with elected position, but they can encourage their members to contest. That's what you
Yes,
say.
yes. Educate their member, tell them the benefit and reason why they must seek elected office to represent God and the church in the affairs of the government. Because when satanic laws are made, the church will get the brunt of it. Because the church in the society and whatever law that are made will either be beneficial or detrimental to the church.
There's a state and religion right here on Kings 88.5. We lost Bishop Oliver Tobar from South Africa, probably internet signal. Dr. Rahim is finding it difficult to get connected from the US, but we have Pastor Johnson Adu. He's one of the Winod resident pastor there in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As a matter of fact, he served in Liberia as the national pastor of Winners Chapel, Congo Town, and he planted many churches. He collaborated with the Christian community here in Liberia, specifically the setting up of the Christian task force. And he normally visit Liberia, even though when he can, I don't see him. I can only hear the news, but he sometimes visit the country. Those of you are following is dark in Nigeria, I want to believe. So that's why you see it changing now. You will not see, but it's a bit dark in Nigeria. So let's take some of your calls. Let's take a few of your calls here from Liberia. 077-223-9933, 0886-304497, 0777-980-375. You listen to Pastor Johnson Abdu, who was asking if the church is powerful than the government in a nation. He said no. The church has lost its taste. Unity is lacking. And we spoke about the issue if the pastor can contest for an elected position. He said no. He doesn't support that, but he supports the pastor encouraging his members to venture out there for elective positions. So call us on 077-223-9933, 0886-304497, 0777-980-375. And let's hear you on the program State and Religion. Those of you in the diaspora, you can call us on the WhatsApp line +231-886-304497 and interact with our guest this evening right here on the program State and Religion on Kings 88.5. So you can call us and let's hear you. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about the issue here this evening, relative our discussion. And Reverend, if you were to look at the setting of Nigeria, very popular of Nigeria and that of Liberia, the churches, the pastors in terms of unity, how do you grade both countries? In terms of the unity between the churches there, the pastors, and that of you've been in Liberia, so you have an understanding of the Liberian setting, the Nigerian setting.
Yeah, I will say this way: the Nigerian churches are as polarized Liberian churches, but the difference is that the various men of God in Nigeria, they have respect for each other.
Okay.
In the sense that even though they come from different denominational background, they know the hierarchy of each and every one of them. So they respect each other, even though they may have differences in doctrinal matters. But as a whole, the Church of Nigeria seems to be more united than the church in Liberia.
How? You got to dig deeper. How? You got to explain to us how is the.
Now, this is what I mean. Most of the founding fathers of the church in Nigeria, when there is an issue at stake that have to do with the church against the government, There is this unity of speaking with one voice against authority. But that is absent in Liberia. In Liberia, we still find some dissecting voices and we want to back the government against the church, even though they know that the government was wrong. Let me give you an instance.
Mhm.
2-3 years ago, in the last regime before this present government in Nigeria, they came up that the 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 general overseer of different denominations, we have to serve tenure and then we hand over to another person. The church rose up and said the government cannot legislate on administration of the church, and that law was killed. It died premature. You never see the light of the day.
Hmm.
That
So,
is, for example, that Degboye have to step aside for somebody to take over Redeem. Bishop Degboye have to step aside for somebody to take over Winner Chapel, like that. And the church rose up from Catholic to Anglican to Methodist to Deeper Life, to Mountain Fire, both Pentecostal, Charismatic, and Orthodox, with one voice. They crushed that registration. It did not see the light of the day. But compared to my experience while I was in Liberia, I know if it were in Liberia, that some who would have backed the government and paralyzed the church.
hmm. So that's a very big difference. That's a very big difference because you've been here, you've
It's
been
a,
here, you've been here.
it's a,
You were with him, and the time he was very proactive was one of the key the key period of time was this Ebola issue. I saw you working actively with the Christian task force. Many a times you will call press conferences at Winners Chapel, and I didn't see some of those that consider themselves the big papa of Liberia. I didn't see them in most of your press conferences, most of your meetings. I see Benito, I see the other people. I didn't see some of them.
they were not there. They were not there. And God told us that if we were to wait for them, things will go out of hand. So those of us that God spoke to clearly, there was a task to carry on for the church to survive. And those of us who were spiritually, like Bishop Wolobele, Bishop Nku and others. So we spoke with them at the point. If we are to wait for them from the church to wake up, Ebola would have gone.
Hmm. Okay, let's welcome Bishop Oliver Toba. I know the internet tried to play with him and he will play with it too. So some way somehow he's gonna come. Yeah, was on
It's
something.
my friend. Yeah, it's my friend was calling from Botswana. It's my one of my bishop friend because I
Okay,
supposed to go there in 2 weeks time. So I forgot. So sorry for that.
okay. So it was on an issue that Pastor Aldo was talking about. I came to the issue
Okay.
whether a pastor should contest for an elected position in a government. And Pastor Johnson Adu said yes, but he doesn't support a pastor contesting. Whether he support the pastor encouraging his member to venture out there for elected position. I don't know your view.
Oh, okay. It depends on two sides because now and then when you look at the world today we live in today, we look at people that our members voted for because many of our people are in our churches they voted for people, and the people that voted for cannot give us what the country need or what the people need. So for me, my clear picture on that would be, uh, I think we've been downplaying it too much on pastors, on bishop, on prophet, not contesting for election. But to me, I would prefer them coming out, coming out. Let's see one day a bishop contest as a president and win. Let's see how it goes. Let's see one day a spiritual leader contest for presidency and win. Let's see how the country will be governed. Because all the people that we put there from time immemorial, they never deliver to our people. Let's talk about Africa in particular, with the whole Africa. All the presidents we've been putting into power, all the presidents we've been putting into power, none of them have really come out to deliver our people from the place of poverty and from the place of corruption, from the place, most of our African brothers are struggling going outside into Atlantic Ocean to cross to go to Europe. There is nothing better in Europe than Africa, because when you talk about the resources, it comes from Africa. When you talk about gold and diamond, it's in Africa. When you talk about raw materials, it's in Africa. Where do the white people come from to take it from? They come from right here. And who are they talking to take the resources from here? It's our same leaders. It's our same leaders. Because if the leader has a heart for the people, I believe those materials will also benefit of our people here too. Can you imagine? You look at the whole Africa. Look at the whole Africa now. I'm telling you, you found out Liberia does not have its own airline to be running. I just saying Liberia doesn't have its own airline to be running to generate funds. If you look at other countries in Africa, they don't have more than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 airlines. They don't have material to produce car. But the things are coming here. Look at Congo. The thing they use to face cell phone is coming from Congo. The thing they're using to face cell phone is coming from Congo. But is Congo rich? No. Congo is rich in the mineral, but the leaders are not helping the people. Once they get there, something else is some kind of virus. Is it because they don't have the fear of God? Or is it because they are not pastor? Or because they are not prophet? Or that is the place I'm really thinking of the leadership of Africa. Is it about what happening with our leaders? They will sing another song. And in fact, let me tell you, boy, they will come to the church during election time. They will sit in church. They will pray in church. Pastors will lay hands on them in church just for them to win election. But after they win the election, do they go back to that church to say, thank you, Jesus? The answer is plain no. They don't go back. They don't even respect that pastor anymore. They even try to arrest that same pastor when he talks against them and says, do the right thing. So to me, for this kind of century we are living in now, for the kind of century, I believe let try one day, let try a pastor, let try a man of God. Let him step there. I want the unbeliever to talk, to say, let the pastor then there. The people who are saying that we cannot govern well, let the pastors there, the pastor is corrupt. So let's see. To me, my own observation will be, let's see too if the bishop who pastoring 20,000, who pastoring 50,000, who pastoring 40 million people, and he's a president of the country. Because I tell you, boy, if a man is pastoring 2.8 million people as a pastor, he's a president. He's a president. He's a president because he controls those people. Bishop Oyedepo is a president in his own right. He's a president in his own right. I'm talking from the standpoint of Nigeria. He's a president in his own right. Because if you put all winner churches together, you will be. It's a country by itself. It's a country by itself. It's a country by itself. So by right, physically by right, Bishop Oyedepo is a president. He's a president. Forget about the spiritual.
Let me hold you there. You said you want them to say at least that the pastor or that the bishop, but Pastor Adu, like one of the followers on Facebook saying they will be even worse. What is your fear, Pastor Adu, if we were to allow our pastors, our bishop to go for the presidency? What's your fear?
The fear is that if conviction is not God in the bishop or the founder who contest, he contests out of threat from people. God will never back what he did not send you to undertake.
Mm.
And here is that such person may not succeed, but it's a different if the person hear from God. Joseph heard from
Exactly.
God, they heard from God, and they became statements that distinguish themselves. Even with the corrupt government they would serve, they were never corrupted.
So it's a high.
Exactly. I will agree
So
with
in
you.
a nutshell, you mean that if the pastor or the bishop hear from God, how
Yes,
and it is what
I
God said. How do we confirm it? How? There will be different views.
if you hear from God that take the leadership of this nation to rescue into this one, then it's a done deal. But if you have, like, for example, my Bishop David, like the reference said, Nigeria alone, we have 2,000 branches of Winner Chapel, 22,000.
I tell you.
Them on a Sunday, they count membership of 20, 15, 10,000, 5,000 mega churches. So he's already a president. Matter of fact, his title is president. But
Yes, President.
he will consider it a demotion the day they will ask him to be president of Nigeria. Because that is not his calling. It's a different thing if God now told him to, you, my servant, Bishop David Oyedepo, I want you to rescue Nigeria from destruction. If he heard from God, he will succeed.
But let me hold you there. Before I come to Pastor Adu on this, this is very interesting. Bishop, how? Because you know the church, like Pastor Adu said from this onset, we are divided. If the work came
Exactly.
from your pastor and say contest in the election, how? How do we confirm it with the different denominations in the country? How do we confirm
You
it?
see, you see, that is the place I was talking earlier before my friend called me. The body of Christ is where the real things is happening in the body of Christ, because like he said, like I said before, if a man is pastoring 100 million people, 3 million people, he's a pastor, he's a president in his own right. It's very easy because those people follow him, they listen to him, they commit to him. Anything he says by the leading of the Spirit is what they follow. And I agree with the man of God. But when God, you see, I'm praying in the direction where God will lead a man of God, and it will be clear to everybody that this man, God is speaking. This is him for the presidency of this nation. That's my prayer to that now. Because we are tired. We don't even know who is right or who is wrong now. Because when it comes to election, we can see that everybody wants to be in the right. But when it comes to doing the right thing of the nation for the people, that's where the whole thing goes wrong. So, who do we put there? That's number one. Number two, who is God calling as a pastor to lead his people into presidency? That's number two. And who will support the idea to say, yes, we will carry this man because this is what God is saying. That's number three. So we are to the place where we are now shaking because we don't know the next enemy. Because the Bible says, when the righteous reign, the people rejoice. But when when the wicked reign, the people suffer. So when will the righteous reign? When will the righteous lead? When will the righteous take over? That is my question right there. So we must be able to be praying. We must be able to pray for the right time and for the right move of God, so that our country can be felt and feel the presence of God. So when that leader is leading, he lead with the fear of God. He carry the people into the next direction, into the next dimension, into the next season, into the next focus points of the people that he's leading, because his passion will be for the people. So my 3 points between there, who will God be speaking to in this season now as a pastor to lead? And who will believe those men of God at the time? So this is where we find ourselves. So we need to take a drastic look at where we are as a church to be able to help in playing our role and doing the needful thing for our nations to survive from the hands of the wicked so our people can have a better life. I think that's one of the places I like to stop, because if that would be the case, yeah. So the Africa need to wake up. Africa
Yeah.
needs to wake up. And that's where I
Africa
am.
Africa need to wake up.
Yeah.
Yes, right here on King's 88.5 State and Religion. Pastor Adu Johnson Adu, then Federal Republic of Nigeria. Always going to be running up, and then Bishop Oliver Toba. This is going to be a number discussion and to talk about more about the state and religion, so that people understand. Because like from Liberia, Pastor Adu, people complain about the church. Like from what is happening politically in Liberia, the people say the church is not talking. Past government, the church was issuing statement. This time, the church is not. So people think the church is silenced because some of the church members, some of the pastors and bishops are given board member position by president. They are on this board, they are on that board, and so the voice of the church in Liberia, people say the church is being marginalized because you got the other pastor, he left that board member at MPA. The other pastor, he the board member, NASCOP. So people say, but then the church will not say anything. Why the pastor will say, all of them get board member position. So from the setting of Liberia, people think the church is completely weak, forceless, powerless. So I'm going to ask you, Pastor Adu, is it wrong for the president to appoint church leaders? Like one time, like the first Sunday in this month, let me quickly share with you. The president and the other man who say he's a speaker over the legitimate speaker visited the president church. And the president pastor is his own religious advisor. So they self-composed speaker were there and thought that the pastor of the president, President Baka, will recognize him as the speaker. So the pastor, they didn't call him speaker because the pastor knew there is a speaker. So he called him by his ordinary name. And other people said it was wrong. Other people said it was right. If I were to ask you, with pastors being board members, this, that, is it reduce the church not to be voice, not to have the voice, or with these positions given pastors and bishops, they should still be voice, they should still have the voice in the nation?
Well, we have to look at that from two perspectives.
Mhm.
Perspective one, the politicians cannot be trusted. So whatever gifts they're giving to you, you have to look at it clearly. It could be given to the church to silence the church, to gag the church. And so it is now left for the leader of the church, whose member is be appointed to a board,
Mhm.
to look at it. If the person that is being appointed is qualified to be in that position, then go with it. That will not stop the church from saying what they want to say when they have to say something. But if the church compromise to get her members into various boards in the government,
Mhm.
the church will not have a voice. But if the people were qualified to be in those boards and they merited being in those boards, it cannot shut the church down from talking. But if they were lobbied for by the church, then the church has already lost its voice. It cannot speak because they have compromised.
Hmm.
And from my incident of the
Mhm.
3 years of Liberia, the church has always compromised with those in government. It must be. For example, in the last dispensation of Ambassador George Weah, I saw a clip where the past the leaders of church and where George Weah ambassador were praying for pastors, laying hands on them. That is an abomination. So it goes to prove the point that the Liberia church is compromised.
The church, you mean the church in Liberia?
Yes. 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 But we have some few remnants, very few, very few, very few, like Simeon Dumba. I can say of that.
From the Liberty Christian Center.
Yes. And few of them like that, but they are very few. But the majority of the voice of the church in Liberia, they have compromised, and because of that, the church has no voice.
But the church in Liberia, if you check from our settled year, the Catholic Church has polytechnic, they have high schools, they have vocational institution. You come to the Baptist get seminary. You come to the Full Gospel, they get university, they get colleges. What? The church can just issue a statement and they shut down all these things and people are out of the. Why can they not issue the same statement to call government to order if there are violations of human rights and other issues? And they just said, everybody said the chair people.
And so that is where I said the leadership of the church need to come together and speak with a voice. But because of who is in charge, who is the father of the land, who is to take the lead, so there is a power tussle that water down the unity of the church. If people can forget about position and come with one voice as a body, the government will listen, the government will bow. Just like we saw in the Old Testament. When the prophet comes to speak to the government or to the king shakes. But today, is different because the church leader go behind to collect bribes from people.
So it's a difficult thing to handle. It's a difficult thing to handle. So politicians always have voice over the church.
Yes. For now. That's how it is.
And it's similar thing in Nigeria.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Everywhere. The government has started subduing the church. And that is why those who don't want to contaminate their calling, they trace their calling and forget about government.
And they focus on the flocks of God.
They just focus on pastoring the people, teaching them the ways of God, and forget about the government. Because when they want to interfere with government, they become a target of the government.
So you think if the church decide to say, okay, the church will move that more in government business, the way the government will run the country, let them run the country. Whatever thing happen is not our business. Where are we going?
No. If it happened that way, the society will collapse. Rather, the church will continue to teach her members the responsibility they need to take to be in government. That's my point. Like in Nigeria now, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria have formed a directorate for politics, and they are driving it to get the Christian that it's not sin for you to be a politician. So if you have a calling as a politician, then you should take up the mantle of leadership. So I agree with that. The church should school our members to take position in authority. It's not going to be overnight, but it will take time. But the church do that.
So before we take your parting comment, I show you've been following event in Liberia. I remember one of your, I spoke with you, I think, 2 different times when you went to Nigeria. We spoke recently on the show that was on the other talk show. You've been following happenings in Liberia. What is your take when it comes to the governance process in Liberia? What is your take? Normally, this is state and religion, so our topic is not only Christian, it's on the country. It's on. So, what have you been observing? Why have you been hearing about Liberia since you went to Nigeria in recent time?
Well, I was last in Liberia 2022. Me and my family we spent the Christmas of 2022 in Liberia. And since I returned 2016, we did there twice, 2018 and 2022. By the time I entered 2022, already the election was going to take place and all that. And now we have Joseph Boakai as the president. You know, the things I've been hearing, they are some good, some not good, in the sense that it looked like as if the present government came in revenge on
Okay.
some part of George Weah government who are technocrats who are staying in the government because they are civil servants. For me, that is not the way to go. Civil servants, they are to serve every government that come in. And so they have no choice as they were because they are servants. So I don't see the need for them to be witch hunted by a government that comes in. So
So you
that
heard,
is what I don't like.
so you heard about that?
Yes, I've been hearing of that. In fact, one of my daughter is involved, who is a technocrat who was part of George Weah government, and the pressure they have been putting on her and all that, it's uncalled for. Because technocrats or civil servants, they're not politicians. They serve the government of the day. And when they are giving orders, they follow. If not, they will be thrown out of the position. So they don't really have a choice. So when a new government, they have to see this from that perspective, that these people are civil servants and that they were subservient to the government they served. And they have no choice but to have obeyed the order that were given.
So do we see similar thing like that in Nigeria where one government come
The
remove
same
other people?
is the same thing. It's
Oh,
the same. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing. It's if on a larger scale in Nigeria. It's on a larger scale here.
so what additional things you observed from Liberia? You've been hearing.
Yeah. So I believe now that the election is over, the old man should go outside his party to get technocrats.
Mm.
The reason why opposition succeeded in Nigeria that no government till now have been able to match his result was that when he came in, he met a bad economy, but he pulled in technocrats who were not politicians. When the bulk of your workforce as a government are career politicians, then you will only be servicing their need, the nation will suffer. But when you go beyond your party after election, bring in professionals, technocrats to man sensitive position, then you will excel. For example, I was happy when I heard that this government brought in Boama Kamara, because Boama Kamara is somebody I know one-on-one in the days of Excellency Ellen Johnson. And I know so many issues, and then he left for US. And I learned this government calling. But afraid that when I asked about him, they said he resigned and he's gone back to US. So it means it was the atmosphere that was not conducive for him to operate, and he resigned. Do you know Boama Kamara?
I think he was the Minister of Finance.
He used to be the minister of. He's a man I know that fear God. He's a believer. He fear God. So I believe they wanted him to compromise. So the government should look for men and women of integrity that will move the nation forward and forget about politics.
But maybe those technocrats you're talking about, they could come from the opposition, and the government of the day might not want anybody from the other past government. So
Exactly. Most technocrats are not career politicians. Are not career politicians. When election is over, should focus on governance and get the best hand on deck to move the nation forward. That is the what makes an absolute statesman. But what we have today are just career politicians who are out there to serve their pocket, not the nation. And so all over Africa is the same thing over and over again. Why do you think Ghana have to carry out a revolutionary election to bring the former president election? Because they want to see it happen. I believe that was why George Brown lost this last election. So I believe the present government now should go beyond putting politicians in position and bringing technocrats, whether they're from opposition or not, that will move the nation forward. That's the way to go.
Okay, so let's quickly before we leave you, Pastor. What will be your final message to everyone listening to you here in Liberia, in Nigeria, across the world? What will be your final message to them?
The final message is this. Right now, there is
Oh, the internet. Yes, we lost signal with Pastor Johnson Adu. We lost signal with him. We also lost signal with Bishop Oliver Torwa there from South Africa due to the same signal problem. We couldn't get Dr. Rahim from the US. Yeah, but we hope next Sunday we can, continue maybe on another discussion and have them joining us on the program. Is religion, the state and religion. Sorry, I went deep into the time, and because I'm out of time, I will leave it like this. Then we'll come back, God's willing, next Sunday with a fresh and new presentation of the program, state and religion. We'll then have a wonderful, wonderful time of discussion. We bring pastors from all across the world, from Liberia, and then talk about state and talk about religion. And so it's an open invitation to any of you, wherever you are, your pastors, you want him to appear. We love that. Yasa Sheriff, thank you for joining us. Even on Sunday, Mufflet say Anthony S. Pesima, you're there closely from the Lokitan resident. You're looking at there's Lokitan store in Lower Johnsonville, Raft. Cooper in Denver, Colorado, USA, Helena, Kier, Collie, Princess McCall, all of you, we want to thank you for joining us. Maybe, it's an open invitation to everyone, stakeholders, church leaders, imams. You want to appear on state and religion, and let's talk about state, talk about religion holistically, and push the ideas that we need to push that will help our country, Liberia. So I got to go. Yes, I got to go quickly. Got to go. I lost this on. Let me see if I can. And so all of our religious programs are here. We also have airtime. You want to run your church live programmed on our Facebook and YouTube channel. Of course, we have space here. You want to run, the church live broadcast on Sunday service. We also have stage space here. You want to do it from the US. We got using our platforms, our main screen lines, our Facebook, our YouTube channel, via the radio. Also, we do have, spaces all available, so that we together can talk about state and religion, your own faith, your message, your sermon, your organization, your religion. So the invitation is yours to join us. Once you want to join King's FM and partner with us, you're here. You want to be a sponsor of the state and religion? Yes, we are. You want to have your church program on our platform? Yes, we are, both radio and on the social media. Yes, King's FM is also available. And my own purposes are doing so. You can join about. But I gotta go. Gotta go on this Sunday evening. I got to go on this blessed Sunday evening right here on King's 88.5. Well, this is how we go home to this edition of the program, A State and Religion, right here on King's 88.5. We sincerely apologize. The time is out of us, so we can take your calls. We open Praise Sunday of next week, God's willing. This week we can take your calls. And due to some internet problem signal, we lost our guest. But the event conversation with Pastor Johnson I'll be there from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then Pastor Bishop Oliver Toba there from South Africa. We were talking about state and religion, the church. Do join us next Sunday. To all of our online viewers on YouTube and Facebook, let us say thank you. Have a blessed Sunday evening from the nation's capital. My name is Israel, where we are. And this is my Sunday face. Bye-bye.